Welcome into Seahawks Today. I am your host, Will Ortner, and finally it's happened. No, not me getting a date. Yes, it's the Seahawks, and it's the Seattle Seahawks getting the love that they deserve from the national media. The national media for too long has ignored little old Seattle, Washington. Left coast, they don't give us the attention we deserve, but finally, the Seahawks are making some noise after that performance on Monday night. Before I get into it, though, obviously, we are in a bye week right now, basically at the halfway point of the season. So I want you to predict the Seahawks' final record at the end of this season. You're 5-2 right now. You've got 10 games left. How do the Seahawks fare in those 10 games? Let me know down below in the comments. Maybe I'll be firing off some of my takes. Remember, at the beginning of the year, I think I had the Seahawks winning 11 games. Might have had them winning 12. Looks like I got a pretty good shot of that becoming true. Now, enough about me being the first Seahawks believer. I need to let you guys know about Kyle Brandt and what he had to say on Good Morning America. This kind of was the jump start. Obviously, Colin Cowherd has been kind of hyping up our Seattle Seahawks, but as many of you have told me down below in the comments that, well, he's a Seattle fan. He's from Washington State. He graduated from Eastern Washington, right? Well, finally, you're getting some guys that have no Washington ties come in and say, we love the Seattle Seahawks. Kyle Brandt was on Good Morning Football, and he was just praising your Seattle Seahawks. And he had this point, which I think is the most important, before he got into his monologue about how great the Seahawks were. And it was, how are the Seattle Seahawks 5-2? And it's like they don't exist. How is that possible? Any other team is 5-2 in the NFL, and you're talking about them. I mean, shoot, the San Francisco 49ers are 5-2. Everyone and their mother is hurt, and I have to hear every day, well, is this the best coaching job that Kyle Shanahan has done? Is this the best coaching job that Kyle Shanahan will ever do? No, he's just getting lucky. Where is the talk of the Seattle Seahawks? Why aren't we heaping praise on Mike Macdonald, on Sam Darnold, on Jaxon Smith-Njigba? Well, Brandt finally made sure to go and do that, because when he started talking about JSN, it was not of, well, he's having a very good year, or JSN is a player that is rising up the ranks. He's becoming one of the best receivers in the NFL. No. It was Seattle moved on from DK Metcalf, and they got better. When you have this picture up on the screen right now, Jaxon Smith-Njigba is the number one wide receiver in the NFL. It isn't Jamar Chase. It isn't Justin Jefferson. It isn't Puka Nacua. It isn't George Pickens. It's Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Right now, through 7 weeks, he has 819 yards. The next closest person to him is Jamar Chase with 626 yards. The Seahawks are not going to play a game. Not going to play a game this week. And JSN will still be the number one receiving yards leader in the NFL. Look at his last 3 games. They are video game-esque. 8 receptions in all 3 of those games. Over 120 yards in all 3 of those games. He has a touchdown in all 3. And here's the thing. He probably should have 3 or 4 more. Here's the part that's crazy. He had 162 against the Jags. He'd probably tell you he should have had 180. He almost had 200. He just had a drop ball and a ball that just got out of his grasp. Kyle Brandt said that in the offseason, the Seahawks took a gigantic risk. And it came up money for them with Jaxon Smith-Njigba. You're looking at a receiver that is on pace to break the NFL receiving yards record. And he's on pace to be just short, 11 yards short of 2,000. I think he's got a shot at getting to 2,000. And finally, you're getting some love thrown his way. Now, you get a twofer in the next crew, because on the Pat McAfee show, Pat McAfee brought in an NFL expert, Pete Schrager, and he said, hey, man, you're at the Seattle Seahawks game. Here are the things that I saw the Seattle Seahawks are doing well. And Pete Schrager not only said, yes, I think that those things were done well, but let me expand upon them. And McAfee and Schrager just continue to gush and gush and gush and gush about this Seahawks defense. How the front seven was coming in and making plays and getting big stops. They were talking about Leonard Williams constantly making plays, being in the backfield, just being an absolute nuisance. Talking about Ernest Jones, not letting anyone get past him, constantly making tackles in the backfield, constantly flying around, making big stops. Talking about a secondary that is injury-riddled, but Reek Woolen coming back from a concussion, absolutely locking down the Texans' wide receiving crew. Talking about Nick Eamon-Warry being basically the same size as a linebacker, but quick enough to run with the short little slot receiver. It's unbelievable what this defense can do, and McAfee and Schrager could not stop talking about them in only the way that they could, by doubling down on the Seahawks and the Seahawks defense. This is the last 2 weeks that you've seen from the pressure that you've been able to force. 11 sacks, 21 QB hits, but most important are the pressures. When you played Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars, every other pass was under pressure. He never felt comfortable. He was never able to set his feet. And with most teams, when you have high numbers like this, it's because, well, TJ Watt went off. Or Trey Hendrickson had a big game. Or Micah Parsons. Or insert star edge rusher here. So who's the star edge rusher for the Seahawks? He isn't there. You got 4 guys right now who are performing at an elite level with that pressure. DeMarcus Lawrence is tied for 12th in the NFL. 12th. Byron Murphy II is tied for 16th. Uchenna Nwosu, a guy who's missed games this year, still performing at a high level. Right now, since his return to injury, he's tied for 1st in the NFL in sacks. He's got 5 of them. 5. Leonard Williams, tied for 20th right now in the NFL for pressure leaders. Now, that's getting in the quarterback's face, maybe not necessarily hitting him, but making him uncomfortable, making him have to get rid of the ball quicker, or making him have to move out of the pocket. You have 4 guys who are in that pressure leaders mark, and if Derek Hall doesn't get hit, you might have 5 of them. You might have freaking 5 of them. And it's not just pass defense that you're stopping. Look at what you're doing on the rush defensive side. You want to be at the bottom part right now. Teams are averaging less than 3.5 yards per rush, and what they're expected to get on those rushes, they are getting less than they are expected. So if it's a first down and the entire NFL is averaging 3.5 yards a carry on a 1st and 10 run, that means the Seattle Seahawks are basically forcing teams to only run for 3 yards. If teams in the NFL are averaging 4, the Seahawks are holding them to 3.5. You are not just the best pass defense in the NFL, you're the best rush defense as well. Incredibly impressive from this group. I don't know that I would say that the entire group is the most impressive person that I've seen go through this crew. I think right now, the person I'm most impressed with is Uchenna Nwosu. That's a guy that a lot of people, Seahawks fans, had written off and said, hey man, he's too injury prone, he's done, it's over. What has he done since he came back from injury? 5 sacks. He's leading your team in sacks. Since he's returned, he's tied for the lead in the NFL in sacks. He's just been basically returned to what he was 3 years ago. He's been very impressive to me. Who's been the most impressive Seahawk to you? Let me know down below in the comments. We're going to get into the last new Seahawks expert believer, but before we do that, I got to tell you about this insane deal over at chatsports.com/Seahawks shirt. Emerald City Football. Man, that thing is sweet. Sweet t-shirt. It is an insane deal. It was $35. It's now $13. Frankly, might even be a little bit less than that. I'd have to go in and double check. Chatsports.com/Seahawks t-shirt. I'm going to say it again because you don't want to miss out. It is a freaking awesome sweatshirt. Super cool. You want to support your Seahawks and support the Emerald City. Chatsports.com/Seahawks shirt. The last of the Seahawks believers is someone that, well, I go back to my old radio days and I think about Chris Canty and I go, that guy's kind of a blowhard. And now I'm thinking, hey, that guy's pretty freaking awesome because he's talking about the Seahawks and he's talking about them in a glowing review. Chris Canty went on to ESPN's First Take. And I don't know if you know about this show, but First Take, you give opinions. And Chris Canty wanted to make sure that he let everybody know just how good your quarterback was in Seattle, and that is Sam Darnold. Canty continued to go out and say, hey, a lot of people look at the Seahawks and they don't really think of them as a true blue contender because when you look at the quarterback's name on the back of the jersey, you think of the New York Jets version of Sam Darnold. You think of a bad version of Sam Darnold. You do not think of the new Sam Darnold. Here's old Sam Darnold. And I get why some people think this. You have a quarterback that, aside from the Minnesota year, he's throwing for basically 60% or less on his completion percentage. You're looking at a guy who's throwing for more interceptions than he is for touchdowns. You're looking at a guy who got benched, who got sent away from multiple places. And even in Minnesota, he does so well all the way until the very end where he just falters. When you needed him most, like the Avatar, he vanished. But that's not what Sam Darnold is this year. He's already improved on that completion percentage number. Yes, the yardage. It isn't the number one in the NFL. It's certainly getting better. And I wouldn't blame his interceptions fully, completely on him. One ball hit a guy's helmet and just bounced into someone else's arms. Another ball was an incredible play by Cam Hayward. Like, those things happen. Sam Darnold's playing so well right now that he's in the MVP betting odds. And frankly, I'm a little upset about where he's at in them. He's at the bottom end. He's plus 3,300 right now. I think that he's had a better year than Jordan Love. Daniel Jones, I don't know about that. Dak Prescott's fine. Jared Goff, I think, and him are in the same conversation. I think Sam Darnold's in the same conversation as Matthew Stafford. Drake May, maybe same convo, maybe slightly above, but it ain't that crazy. It ain't that crazy. Patrick Mahomes is always going to be number one. Josh Allen's always going to be up there high. The only reason Lamar Jackson isn't up there high is because of his injury issues. But Sam Darnold right now isn't that far off from the top MVP betting odds. And frankly, he's going to continue to go higher and higher and higher. It feels good to finally see Seattle get some love. I'm tired, and I know all of you are, of our Seahawks, our Mariners, our teams being ignored because we play games just a little bit later than everybody else. And everyone wants to go to bed at a reasonable hour instead of do their jobs and come in and support our teams. So it feels pretty freaking good to see Kyle Brandt, Pat McAfee, Pete Schrager, and Chris Canty give us the love that we deserve and show our team the praise that they deserve. Because they're really freaking good. And they're getting better every single week they go out onto the field. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you love the Seahawks just as much as I do. And if you do, subscribe to the channel. We got videos coming out every single day that you will not want to miss.